Please, thank you very much.
Okay, it is 5 o'clock, so welcome. We are calling what's our date today? The April 20th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Adjustment to order. And we will begin with a roll call of the members of the committee. We'll start.
Amanda Peterson.
And any
No conflicts.
conflicts of interest, yes.
Andrew Rennick, no conflicts.
I'm Laurie Urquiaga, no conflicts of interest.
Eric Chase, no conflicts.
Maria Winden, no conflicts.
Thank you. Okay. We have a lot to read as introductory statements in this meeting because our authority and our purview is constrained by city ordinance and state code. So I'll start off in terms of decorum. Due to state code, although this is a public hearing, only the presenters and those invited by the committee may speak or ask questions unless otherwise invited by the chair. Please wait to speak until called upon. When speaking, please be sure to speak into the microphone so that the record is clear. Please state your name and city of residence for the record at the beginning of your presentation. Please limit side conversations as they interfere with audio recording. If you need to have a side conversation, please step out of the chamber. Please do not attempt to interrupt or speak over people. Intimidating or threatening speech or behavior will not be tolerated at any time. Please refrain from clapping, cheering, booing, or being otherwise disruptive during the hearing. If you have questions about an item, please speak with staff privately. And in a review of our authority, the board's authority to grant variances or act on an appeal is limited to that specified in city ordinances, such as exceptionally irregular, narrow, shallow, or steep lots, or other exceptional physical conditions whereby strict application of the ordinance would result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship that would deprive the owner of the reasonable use of the land or building involved, but in no other case. The Board of Adjustment makes decisions on variance requests based on evidence and may only grant a variance if there is an unreasonable hardship related to the property that is denying a substantial property right, and may not consider financial, personal, or self-imposed reasonings for a variance request. In granting variance, the board shall prescribe any conditions that it deems necessary or desirable. Granting the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Neither personal nor financial hardship can be considered a justification. Now we will move to agenda item 1. Kohy Atkins requests a variance to Provo City Code 14.10.080 to reduce the side yard requirement from 10 feet to 5 feet for an existing structure built without a permit in the R110 one-family residential zone located at 2082 South Mountain Vista Lane, Spring Creek neighborhood. Dustin Wright has the staff report. Dustin.
All right, thank you very much. So here's the location of the property that's requesting variance on. And we'll jump into the site plan showing the existing property. You can see the existing home and the existing garage, and that existing garage shown there's the item that they're requesting a variance to allow that to be in that 10-foot side yard setback. As you can see here, it's within that 10 feet. And so that's where this request is focusing on. Here are some images that the applicants provided showing the property. And you can see the existing structure that was built. Like was mentioned, it was built without a building permit. They've come in and asked for a building permit, and it hasn't been able to be issued because it doesn't meet the setback requirement. And so that's why we're looking at variance today. The staff report goes through the 5 criteria that you'll need to make findings on whether it meets the criteria or not. And so the staff report kind of goes through each one of those items. I did want to note on page 5 on the staff on number 4, criteria number 4. I left both on the findings under the staff one. It says complies and doesn't comply, and I would have it just be does not comply on that one.
Okay. I have a question. At what point, how far back on this building does it actually reach the point of being 10 feet away from the site?
As you can see here on the front, it shows it about 5 feet from the property line, and on the back, it's a little over or just under 12 feet back. So I would say somewhere in the middle range, there's where that 10-foot setback is. So it'd be probably the front half of the existing garage is in that setback. If that's answering your question.
Okay. Other questions from members of the board? Maria.
Yes, on the first page, on the summary of key issues, where it says a building permit was submitted after the structure was built, is that actually a building application?
Yeah, so they submitted the building permit application,
Okay,
and then that hasn't been able to be approved as it doesn't meet the setback requirements.
okay.
Was that application submitted after the city received a complaint?
Yes, so this structure was built in 2023. At some point after, I think shortly after that is when the city became aware of it and issued a red tag or stop work order on it. And then after some time, they've submitted the building permit application.
Okay.
If the variance were not to be granted, what are next steps?
For the
Applicant. Mm-hmm.
So they would need to bring it into compliance. So they would either need to move the structure or reduce the height or just remove the structure.
Move the structure or reduce the height. Tell
Yes.
me about that.
So an accessory structure, which that existing garage would be considered, if it's under 12 feet in height,
Mm-hmm.
it would be allowed to be 3 feet from a property line.
Ah, okay.
But this is over 12 feet in height. And so
How high is it?
it is 17 feet.
Hmm.
And so the other criteria, so if it's under 12 feet, it could be 3 feet off the property line. If it's over that, then it needs to be 10 feet. So their options would be, I guess, one of those 3.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from board members? Thank you, Dustin.
Thanks.
Okay, we will now call the applicant. State your name and your city of residence, please.
My name's Jamie Evans. Provo's my city. I've been here about 45 years. So it's the first time I had to be in these new council chambers, so that's good. let me back up, and I know this doesn't have all the relevance, but it does.
Oh, before you get started, I'm supposed to say, and we have a new agenda.
Okay,
We were talking about that in the earlier meeting. So it says that you will get 15 minutes for your presentation, and when your time is up, you'll hear a ding and the mic will be muted. So if you'll start that 15-minute timer now. And we stop that when we're asking you questions. So if you're responding to us, it doesn't count against your time.
I understand.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This property, let me tell you a little about this property. This property was attained out of somebody that owed me money. And I pulled the property back from a guy named David Hall. You may hear his bankruptcy. We retained the property, and my CFO started to build this, and he did get the permit for the rest of the house to be remodeled. During the process, my wife that helped me build all of Evans' companies, the gravel pit and everything you see around, passed away. And it's my responsibility to know what he was doing, and I lost track of it. So then I apologize. It was my responsibility, and I didn't know that he did not receive a building permit for the garage. He did receive a building permit for the rest of the house. And so that's where we started. So sorry, I was in distress, and I really didn't care about whatever. I mean, I have, thousands of balls in the air, and a lot of them got dropped for a while, but now we're back to where we need to be. The problem with this house and this garage that makes this is the slope. And the slope on this is over a 10% grade. So when you build a house on any of the slope, and then to try to get a 50-foot garage in there and try to get a piece of trailer in there, it needs to be level. And that is one of the problems with the slope. From the slope of the lot's about 250 feet long, and there is about 23 to 26 feet of fall from the top of the curb and gutter to the back where the back of the property is. So you have to do some stuff to level it up. The number one criteria that it says in here, the findings do not comply on the number one. The problem is the slope of the property. If you look where it says the existing garage and the existing wall, can somebody go back to the?
She's got the
Can you
control.
go back to the engineer drawing? From the back there where it says existing wall, and from the building, there's a 10-foot retaining wall plus a 3.5-foot wall for a decorating. So there's overall about a 14-foot wall. There's only so far you can go back and have a level area for a garage to go in. And that's the reason that this was put over to too close to the neighbor. And it's also, if you look at the existing house, when you have to come in and you're trying to back a trailer into the garage, you have to come back, and the garage cannot go any farther to the north. It has to stay to the south because the house is there and you cannot get into the garage any smaller. So that most of these problems are caused by the slope of the property or the topography of the property. So that answers, that's what the hardship is. And it asked me one of the questions in here from the granting of the variance is essential to the enjoyment of the substantial property rights by the property in the same district. Most people have the ability to build a garage on their property. The only way we could build this garage was to build the retaining walls because of the slope. As we go through, it also says the variance will not substantially affect the general plan. This garage will not affect the general plan. There's nothing in there that would affect the general plan. And we have a PowerPoint, but we didn't submit it correctly, and that's my fault. I apologize. I thought we were supposed to submit that now and put it into play, so that is my fault. Number 5, let me find number 5. I apologize. The number 5 is the neighboring properties. There are 8 properties in our neighborhood that we've flown with our drone and looked at it, and there are 8 properties that have structures built within the setback. The setback is, if they've all received variances or they've built them without variances, I'm not positive. But there are 8 parcels on our street. Now, our street is unique. It's state highway on the top and industrial in the back. And I'm probably the one that loves it the most because I'm an industrial guy. And Pacific States Cast and then my gravel pit and everybody. I don't know if you know the area or not, but there's only 22 houses, and David Hall owned 80% of them at one time. And we had to take one back to try to get some money back from him. And this is the one house that we did take back. Any questions? I can answer anything, but most of this is dealt with the slope. And as you look at the existing concrete for the patio, that is between 7 and the back is 10 feet from that to build the existing garage there. Can I answer any questions?
One question. The grading, is that something that applies uniquely to your property, or do all, kind of those neighboring homes all kind of have that grading issue to deal with?
Some of them didn't have as big as house built on them, and they have the grading issue too. Ours is a little bit different because we wanted a garage that was level, and we have no access to be able to go down. Now, I own the house to the north, and the north house does have a driveway that comes down at 10%. But when you bring a large trailer in, and this is built for a 50-foot motorhome, that's the intention of putting our motorhome in there. When you come down the driveway, that slope will drag. And so you couldn't build a garage on somewhat the same elevation as the house. And it's a little lower than the house. There's slope coming back, but I think it's about 2.5 feet lower than the elevation of the house. Does that answer your question there?
So because it's used for a motorhome, is it possible to reduce the height of the roof?
It is not. The motorhome is 14 foot, 6 inches tall, is the motorhome that we'll purchase to travel around and do that. That's the plan. So can't go to 12 feet. And there's no way to reposition it on the property. That's the hardship, is the slope of the ground. And you guys issued one, most of your board members issued one of these on November 18th of 2024 to a 0 setback, because in the findings were most of the property owners had that right. And if you look around the neighborhood, you will find out that most of the neighborhood has their garages and everything else. There's 8 of them that have structures built in the setback. They must have got a variance, I'm sure. And if you want to see the PowerPoint, we could table it till next month and come back and we could give you the PowerPoint presentation if you'd like to see the neighborhood.
If you feel like your presentation would be stronger with that, you could request it.
What do you think?
That-
This is my team, so.
Well, he could request to postpone it. Or we could we could on our own, but I think that the applicant has the right to request a delay.
Yeah, especially if he has information that he's not able to show you tonight that he feels may be relevant.
That might be a wise decision on your part.
I think I'd like to ask for to postpone it till, do you have it every month? Is it a monthly
As long as
meeting?
we have an agenda item. So
Okay, well,
if
we'll
you're
ask
the
to
agenda
postpone
item-
it till next month. huh?
Okay.
They would be the agenda item for next month. If there's no others, we would hear this next month.
Okay, so do we need to have a motion
does-
to table?
Does anybody know what the date is? I'll be gone on the
It would-
22nd.
it-
Does anybody
It's
know?
the 18th. I actually won't be here because I have a 10th view graduation at that same time, but
Okay.
it's May
It's on
18th.
May 18th. I'll be here
Mhm.
on that. I can be here for that hearing. Let's ask to table it till May 18th.
Actually, I won't be here that day.
I was going to say, how many people do we need for a quorum?
I'll be in, so we'd have to delay it for 2 months.
Well, 3 is a quorum if the other 3 will be here, but then you have to get a unanimous vote out of them.
Mm.
So we could table it for 2 months if we wanted
But I think we table it and then staff and schedule it.
the best, yeah. So do we need a motion to do that or,
No, as long as the applicant has requested a continuance, then we can just continue it.
okay, so we will say that this item is continued and sometime within the next 2 months,
In
we will
June.
talk to you again.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, moving on to item 2. Mike Stewart requests a variance to Provo City Code 14.10.080 sub 5 to allow an accessory building to have a larger footprint than the main dwelling for a property in the R110 one-family residential zone located at 4379 North Mile High Drive in Sherwood Hills neighborhood. And Aaron Ardmore has the staff report for this item.
Okay, thank you, board. So just a quick overview of this variance request. The property up here, Mile High Drive, steep slopes, history of sliding, just to give you some context to what we're looking at. There's an image there on the left of a section of Mile High Drive that's Public Works just won't maintain anymore because it keeps moving. So that kind of puts a frame around this one. But the request is for this building. This would be an accessory building. If we go back here, the plan would be to combine those 3 lots that are encompassed in red. The home is on the right of your screen, and the outline of the new garage is on the middle lot. If this was to be approved, they would need to combine all 3 lots to make this happen. So this is the site plan for that middle lot, and then the 3rd lot you can see becomes the access to it with some adjacent kind of residential amenities, pool, and so forth. The request has to do with the footprint. So the proposed garage, the proposed accessory building is approximately 704 square feet larger than the primary home. So when the applicant was going through building permit, this was pointed out, and we talked about different solutions that could occur. The choice of applying for the variance was chosen and was supported by the Provo City engineer, Gordon Haight, because it would take 2 of those properties in somewhat of a dangerous area to build a residence. It would take those off of the map for building future homes. So that was the reason for the engineer's support. I think that's noted in the staff report. The applicant has his slides as well, but hopefully you've had a chance to review the staff report. You've seen the response from the applicant on the criteria, and then the staff's response to that. Doesn't, in a staff's opinion, doesn't perfectly meet all 5 criteria, but we believe there was enough justification there to support the granting of this variance. I'll take any questions if you have them.
I noticed that in the staff report, you talked about it not being, that they had intended at one point to include some residential area and then not. And yet the red label marks habitable areas of the garage. Explain what those habitable areas
Yeah,
are.
that was, if you can try to ignore that, please do that. I mean, that was from the applicant. That's how his architect defined the footprint, which is different than how Provo City defines a footprint. So we just look at the outer boundary and do the math. They've actually gone through and separated habitable, space where a person would reside separate from like a garage, specific garage area. So that's the calculation that they used. We would use the calculation of just the overall area of the building.
Okay, so their calculation, it was within the requirements.
With their calculation, it would be compliant, but unfortunately, that's not how the code reads.
Okay. All right.
I have a question. Was there a discussion about having the garage be 704 square feet smaller and still moving it into 3 lots? Is that an
Yes.
option?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
I believe I personally suggested that, but the response, I believe the applicant's here to respond to this if I get it wrong. The response was there had been so much design work done to that point that it would be very costly for them to go back and to reimagine what that building looks like. Geotech reports and so forth.
Okay. Other questions?
And that cost is more than just annoyance. You're talking about like it's particularly painful given the qualities of the land itself.
Yeah, I would defer to the applicant and
Okay.
speak to that.
Okay. I'm guessing it has to do with the anchors to the bedrock and all that kind of stuff, but the applicant can let us know. Any other questions?
I have a question. Is with the changes in state law, this could be an accessory dwelling unit? Is that right?
Suppose it could. Yeah, if they combine the parcels, it would definitely qualify for that detached ADU under the state code that goes into effect May 6th.
Okay.
So if we were to approve it, they could repurpose it down the road?
It would still be an accessory building and it would still be an ADU, and there would be a variance over a different section of code because the ADU chapter says that the ADU cannot be larger footprint than the main dwelling. So it's kind of the same thing, but it's just a different section that you need a variance from.
Okay.
But
Okay,
the whole
then I
but the whole justification for this is to not have an occupied dwelling on land that's questionable as to its
Stability.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So adding an
Okay.
ADU would really be antithetical to that.
Okay. Other questions from board?
So, Bill, are you saying that if they were to make an ADU request, that the likelihood is that it would be not approved because of the condition of the topography there?
If the board grants their variance request, it's being granted with the understanding that it's not going to be a dwelling unit.
Okay.
So it'd be a violation of the variance granted.
And the variance runs with the
Mhm.
lot. So it sort of becomes a covenant that is embedded in that ownership, right?
Yeah, essentially if they pivoted to that, they'd have to come back to you for another variance request, essentially.
Okay.
Do we have properties where there are 2 variance requests on one?
I'm sure we do.
Yeah, for fun. Okay.
Any other board questions? All right.
I should
Thank
also
you.
know that we do have city engineers here if you have questions for them.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Thank
Thank you, Erin. Does anybody have an engineering question?
I have a legal question.
Okay, it's probably Bill or someone else.
So this is the old staff report, right, where we have a staff recommendation. And I'm curious if the legal department, I'm assuming you are also considered part of that staff, or is that just from Erin's shop? Okay,
I'm not involved in the writing of the staff reports.
okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we have time for the applicant. As before, it would be 15 minutes. Is the applicant here? Hi. You can come forward. Please state your name and your city of residence.
Mike Stewart, Provo.
All right. And you have 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Can I do it with a song?
Sure.
You wouldn't like that. I don't know where that came
Interpretive
from.
dance.
First of all, what questions do you have?
My question is about reducing it by 704 feet, why that might be considered a hardship.
So Aaron touched on it. The architect, when we started this process over 4 years ago, one of the things they do is scour the codes and which ones are applicable. And based on, and and Aaron could correct me, but when this came up, how could Hebdon as the architect, how could they have missed, the box that says it's the accessory smaller than the house? But when you look under Provo City's code, under the definition of footprint, it isn't there. And so the architect, and in their field, they use ANSI. And so that prior slide showed how ANSI defines it. And ANSI looks at habitable area or conditioned area versus non-conditioned. So when you look at conditioned in that garage relative to the conditioned in the house, it is smaller. And so then they proceeded. I mean, had we known 4 years ago, we would have made sure that it was smaller. I'll show a couple slides that show what is permitted. And we think the approval of this as presented is for open space and for the streetscape looks better than what we could do alternatively. So.
Oh, then there's questions. Sorry.
Okay.
Apologies.
I'm not sure. Did I just hit?
Yes, it came up. It says applicant slides.
Okay. So this is a comparison of, so the top one is what's proposed. The R110 zone does allow 2 accessory buildings. And so you've got the existing home and then the proposed garage, and then below the existing home. And if you look at those 2 garages look like the one above, but they've been made a little bit smaller. So those are both compliant. So legally we could go the house and 2 accessory buildings as you drive down the street. We can sit in here in the council chamber and go, and it's not that bad. But when you're up there, because of the view, having that open, even the distance between, if you look at the lower slide, the one on the left, the distance from the home to the garage, we could have pulled it south. But the 2 homes to the east, those are our neighbors. We wanted to preserve their view corridor. And so that's why we pushed it the way we did to the north, so that they still had their views. But we could, if you look at the slide on the right, the alternative route, if you look at the footprint of what those 2 would look like, we felt that it's the proposed is better than what we could legally do. If you drive down the street, and because it is, Mile High does have that area to the north that creeps, but we've been there 27 years. Our section doesn't budge. I'm just guessing. I can't imagine that there's another accessory building in the state that's going to be tied into bedrock. It will be tied to bedrock out of an abundance of caution for us. Our home is also on the bedrock. So for me, it's as safe or safer than any lot in the city. There's no high water table. There's no liquefaction. It just sits on the bedrock. So this was in the just below our neighborhood. No, it isn't. It's not what we're proposing, but I think this is the intent of the code. that an accessory, or in this case, an addition, doesn't overshadow the existing home. This isn't what we are proposing. Our hope is someone would just drive by and not notice it. Like, oh, it belongs to the home. This is another example. It's more modern, but you can see the existing home, and it's not an accessory, but it does overshadow the house. And again, that's not what we're proposing. This is in closer to our home, and you can't, at least maybe you can see it on your screens. That's an accessory garage that its materials don't match the home. It's stucco. The home is white brick. What we're proposing, it matches the home, the shingles, the siding, the garage doors. And again, someone should just drive by and not, oh, there's an accessory there. And again, you have the view corridor between the home and the accessory, and then you have it after, because we're proposing one, not two. This just gives you an aerial of the one that we just looked at. And then this was approved by the Board of Adjustment 3 or 4 years ago. This is an accessory garage. This is off of Geneva Road. And I only use this one because it wasn't that long ago, but it doesn't match the house. It's closer to the street than the home. And this does have 2 accessories. You can see their existing detached garage and the home. Again, this isn't what we're proposing. You drive by Geneva Road, if you were looking for it, you would see that, oh, this doesn't match the home. And I'd be surprised if this isn't larger than the footprint of the house, the way Provo has defined it for our accessory garage. I think that's probably it. Yeah.
Okay. Additional questions for the applicant? Okay.
I'm wondering if you can just speak briefly to this. I mean, you're talking about tying into bedrock. I just want to understand a little more explicitly exactly what it is that you're dealing with that's unique to this property that's causing you to have to, go to that, and to the extent to which that's a general characteristic versus a specific characteristic of this property.
Great question. Even our home, it was optional. But our house sits on 43 piers. And so those are helical that are drilled down. I'd never seen it done before. We're going back 27 years ago when we built it. It hits the bedrock and you hear it, and it grinds down through it until they're called shear pins. They do it differently with gauges now, but then those shear pins would shear off, and then you'd move to the next one. Because our home hasn't budged, I think we'll do that next door as well. The bedrock's deeper, but it's there. If it wasn't there, I don't think I'd do it. Even though there's no movement. It is to the north. I mean, I'm a yard guy, so I'm out there all the time. There's been 0 movement since we've lived there, but it's still, for me, if we're going to put it there, we should be cautious, because it's extremely costly after the fact. If you need and we're not doing piers either. These are piles. And so they get driven down. And in this case, they'll go 15 feet into the rock and then straight up, and they're concrete full of rebar. So it is, for me, an abundance of caution. Because
Okay.
things do, it's hillside.
Mm-hmm.
Additional questions? I have a question for development, Bill. If they have the option to do the 2 accessory, keeping the lots sort of separate, and that is sort of automatically approved, isn't it? If they are within the requirements?
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, what he was describing is he could build two homes because there's currently platted individual properties in a residential zone. So those wouldn't be accessory buildings to his home. Those would be two additional homes along Mile High Drive.
Well, actually, these we would do as accessory on this proposal. So
Okay.
so both of those, they look, see, it's actually narrower. So those are both smaller than the home.
Okay.
But those would be two accessories, not two single-family homes.
Okay. So no, they wouldn't be separate parcels. They would still have to be combined with the home.
Combined with the home, but they would, given the circumstances, that would be an option that they could get through. And
If they went through the platting to combine them and those accessory buildings met all the height and setback and lot coverage standards, then yes, it's possible.
they could have those two.
It looks
Okay.
likely that what he's proposed would be approved
Mhm.
under those conditions, yeah.
And something that Aaron touched on, we're not asking for any setback variances or height variances. But to Bill's point, we would still, whether we did two or one, we'll still replat and combine the three into one. But if we've got to change that architecture, we probably will do two rather than one, because we've got to go to the expense anyway. I mean, the expense will go up, designing a second one, and they wouldn't be identical. That's not responsible architecturally to do two identical, but it still is I care about the area. My preference is that we have one, not two.
Okay. And I'm getting the impression from the city that there is a desire to have just one accessory building, and the city is willing to sort of trade off that for the variance. Is that a typical type of a thing to do?
Even though the criteria are in your report and in the state law, there's a certain amount of subjectivity as to whether or not those criteria have been met. I think what the staff is saying is that if the lots are combined into one, and this is going to be a non-occupied building, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably, we'd rather do that than have to be fighting a future property owner about additional dwellings on those lots.
And so that the fact that this does run with the property is an important factor in the city's considerations. Okay. Thank you. I think
Okay.
that's all. We may call you back, but we usually don't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, discussion. Andrew.
I have a question that maybe our legal counsel can answer, but I'm curious about this ambiguity around the definition of footprint. The applicant mentioned kind of a vacuum of definition, lack of definition there. And I'm curious kind of how we should understand that.
Yeah, and Aaron, you might be better suited to answer. This is how the city defines footprint versus how the applicant's engineer or Hebden Studios architecture department defined it. I assume Aaron would know.
Yeah, so terms that are not defined in city code, zoning code, which are a lot of words and terms, right? The city attorney, Brian Jones, has always said that would default to the generic Webster definition of the word. So it, unfortunately for Mr. Stewart, it didn't default to the ANSI standard. It defaulted to just the overall area of the building.
Okay. And is that, not that that's our purview, but just as a aside, it might be helpful to have some sort of a note of that at some point in the code for future applicants. Okay. I can understand the perspective the city is saying that one building is preferable to two, and particularly given the potentially unstable nature of that area and the fact that this applicant is willing to tie into the bedrock. In my mind, that weighs in favor of approving this. So I can understand it. I do think there's I don't know that I'd call it an irregularity, but this is not a common thing to come before us. So what do you all think about that?
I'm very comfortable if the staff recommends that we approve. That's something that I'm comfortable with as a general rule.
Okay.
I have one quick other clarification. If this variance is granted, could they still build another accessory building of the similar type?
Based on if the left illustration is what you're proposing, then I think it would leave room for an additional accessory building to the north. Yes.
Is that something that can be controlled by a condition established by the board?
I would not think so.
So that would always be an option?
Yes, I don't think we could require that not be permitted within the purview of this variance request.
Okay. Maria?
So did I understand correctly earlier, if they did want to create a dwelling unit within this second
Structure.
unit, would they have to get a second variance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I would love to comment, even though this doesn't have to do with the variance, I appreciate a homeowner who is considering how it affects the neighborhood, including sightlines. I think that's a beautiful bit of respect for those around them.
Okay, I agree. Further comment?
I want to say I also feel pretty comfortable with it, with the staff recommendation on approving this. That's where I'm leaning.
Okay. Are we ready to hear a motion? Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the variance request by Mr. Stewart and allow the building of the accessory building, a larger footprint than the main dwelling. However, I think we want to add the condition that should be from the question rather than a motion. Are we on the condition that this is all made into one parcel of land, correct?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So
We're supposed to have in the motion a finding of fact. The condition to be included and any date by which conditions are to be met. And in this case, it would be before the permit is issued that the property. So
does the city have any other any other relevant information that should be included or we should consider including in our
in the motion,
No, I
Just,
believe that's it.
from technical standpoint?
I think that's it. You're fine.
Okay. All right.
so the finding of fact might be that the city finds that a single slightly larger unit is preferable to the two smaller at this point,
I think given the known hazards.
Mhm.
All right. Let's try again. And then, sorry, date just prior to the issuance of the
permit.
Okay. Okay. So then I will move that the board approve Mr. Stewart's variance request to the Provo City Code and allow the accessory building as proposed to have a larger footprint than the main dwelling, finding that the proposed plan is preferable to other alternatives given known hazards on the property. We would impose the condition that the 3 lots be combined prior to the issuance of the building permit.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Maria seconds. And we will vote, Amanda?
Aye.
I will vote aye.
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 Okay, the board vote is unanimous in the affirmative. And if we have no other items of business, we can accept a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
And do we have a second?
I can second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.